All right, thus far I've demonstrated how this application works and also demonstrated how to quickly get this application up and running in a Kubernetes cluster. In this video, what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about scale and some of the scale type things that I've been doing with it. So I've got my application up and running and collecting tweets with the word Seattle in them. You can see I've got results already in here. And then I've got a console up and running. I'm going to do a couple things again to help visualize as we run through this scale demonstration. The first thing down here on the left-hand side is I'm returning the queue length of the Azure queue. And up here on the upper right-hand side, I'm returning a list of pods that are running the process tweet application. So in this case, I've got a deployment with a single replica. And again, we're pulling stuff in, but I'm going to generate some load to kind of watch this thing run at scale. So let me do that now. And what we can see is that my queue is filling up rather quickly. However, I've got a single container processing this, if you will. Now, arguably, this is a pretty simple application. There's things I could have done in the logic of the application to more efficiently process the tweets off of this Azure queue, but this was an exercise in scale, so I intentionally kind of kept it simple. So one of the things we can do here, or we can observe, is if I were to scale this deployment up, let's just go with like 10. And actually, before doing this, I'm going to go ahead and load that queue back up. Boom, so we can see that it's loading up rather quickly. And I'll go ahead and scale the deployment now. And we can see that I've got multiple replicas being created. And as they create, we actually just chewed through that backlog rather quickly. So let's see that again. And now as I'm loading that queue, it's not even really increasing in size. So the messages are being processed as they're loaded onto the queue, basically. So that's great. We're seeing kind of some manual scale here. But what if I wanted to take it a step further and introduce some auto scaling? So let me do a couple things here. I'm going to go ahead and scale this back down to a single replica. And my pods are terminating. Cool, so I've got a single replica running. So in order to auto-scale this, Kubernetes does have some auto-scaling features built into it on metrics such as CPU memory, and you can actually add some custom metrics as well, but I wanted to do something very specific based on the queue length of an Azure queue. So I built what's called a custom resource definition and a controller that manages auto-scaling based off an Azure queue. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the details of the custom resource definition and the controller. I'll do that in the next video. I really just wanted to demonstrate it just to set context for that next video. Just looking ahead though, in this custom resource definition, or this custom resource rather in this case, there are a couple metrics that we are going to set. So queue length means like, once the queue reaches or for every 10 items in the queue, I want a replica running. At all times, I want a minimum of one replica running. And at a maximum, I want at maximum 10 replicas running. So stick around for the next video. I'll kind of go into some of this in depth. So let me go ahead and load that up now. And so what that's loading is my custom resource definition, an instance of that custom resource definition, the custom resource, and the controller, which again, I'll explain in the next video. And so we can see now that I've got a single replica running, which is correct because I've got very little workload on this thing. But let me go ahead and load this back up. Boom. And so we can see without doing anything, the replica count is starting to increase. It's chewing through the queue, and as it completes, it's terminating or decreasing the replica count on that deployment. Boom. So let's see it again. So we've got several running, chewing through the backlog, and the replicas are now stopping. Great. So again, this video is just a demonstration of manually scaling this application and auto scaling this application with a custom controller. Check out the next video that I'm going to post here, which I will actually go into the details of how custom resource definitions work, the relationship between the custom resource definition and a custom controller, and get into some of the details of what I've built here. Thanks a lot for watching.